we go. Back for another episode of How to Become a Sales Warrior, episode number 13. I'm here with my co-host, Ty.
How you doing, everybody?
Ty, where do you work?
I am with Pack Pros Moving and Storage Solutions. We are a pack and load. We are a moving company. We move you short distance, long distance, commercial moving. We provide labor service for many companies. We're the one-stop shop. We also do furniture cleanouts, charitable donation, a little bit of everything in the labor department when it comes to getting those houses clean. You need a house sold. You want it to look nice for the new buyers. We're the people to call.
All right, well, so today we're doing something different. We have a guest, my dear friend Greg Rand, up on the screen here today. So we're going to do the show a little bit different. Say hi, Greg.
What's up, everybody? Hey, Eddie. Hey, Ty.
So Greg is an EVP for Caldwell Banker. I've known Greg for as long as I know my wife. So my wife introduced me to Greg when we were dating. We went on a boat trip up the Hudson River with a whole bunch of Siena people. That's the college that Greg and my wife went to. And somehow, some magical way, me and him connected on that trip, and we have stayed true friends for the past 24 years.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
It's been a pleasure knowing Greg, and he got a little dedication here in the book, and it's funny. All my friends told me they bought my book, and every time I text one of them, did you read it? And like, yeah. And I knew he didn't because when he gets to page 6, he would have seen this. To Greg Rand, who inspired me in many ways. His professionalism and business acumen helped bond our friendship. Watching his solo career take flight and watching him succeed motivates me to this day. And once he finally read the book, he sent me a text. Hey, thanks for the shout out.
I never lied to you. You never asked me. I never lied. But it was funny when I was flipping through it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to dig in. I see that, and I'm like, my first reaction was, hey, look, everybody. I'm telling my wife and kids, look, I'm like, I got to go. I got to call Eddie right now and thank him because he knows this has been here for 3 weeks, and I haven't gotten to page 6 yet. So I'm a dead man if I don't call him now.
And
thank you. Did you
listen? Are you listening to it on the Audible?
No, I'm listening. I'm reading it.
We can't hear Greg.
I'm reading it on the.
There he is. Okay, because I know you said you were one of my motivators to do the Audible because you said, I ain't fucking reading that. I'm not reading the book. I don't do books. I do Audible.
I forgot you did the Audible.
That's gentleman awesome. Sitting to my right is my engineer who helped me do the Audible. He did all the recordings, everything, coached me, taught me what I didn't know about doing an Audible. They wanted to charge me a whole lot of money to do it. And I'm like, no, this has got to be in my sound. And Ty really, stepped up and helped me get through that journey, which was really exciting because at the time I was teaching him things about sales, and I felt like, I was really teaching him. And then the student became the teacher, and he started teaching me things that I didn't know. And that's really the bond of our relationship for the past year and a half is I may be 60 years old, but I could still listen to a guy who's half my age who might know something that I don't. And, he brings a lot to the table for that. So we're going to jump into why we're here, Greg. The idea behind the book and the podcast is to try to help a younger generation get to the sales peak without it being a 20-year journey. So for me, it's been a 20-year journey to get to the top, to make some real money. And there were so many lessons I learned along the way. I wanted to share it with a younger generation, people like Ty. Maybe we could take 5-10 years off that 20-year journey and they could get there quicker. What have you experienced so far with working with me?
I've taken leaps already just because a lot of mistakes. Well, number one, you told me to prevent myself from getting into these things by fixing stuff before you start to take those next steps. So you're like, wait, hold on. Let's fix all of this stuff. And you were the first person that ever took certain things serious with me in my life. And it's like, no, you got to get this stuff in order before you can run, and that's allowed me to just get past so many barriers that were holding me back from really true and being the man that I want to be. So I thank you for that.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I loved your text yesterday. Thank you for, showing me how to be a better father. So not only am I teaching you about business, I'm teaching about family life and how things can be if you put the efforts in and have the right mindset.
Well, it's good to have. I didn't have so many examples, in my life where I'm like, this is a man who's older, who's got it together, his family loves him. So being able to see that, see a happy family, and I got my son and my small family compared to your
my
tribe.
5
But being able to see what it could be like, in the future as he gets into his teens and things like that, how it's supposed to be, rather than what we may have been used to.
Right.
Which is awesome, man.
Hey, setting better examples for everyone.
Better examples, man.
Absolutely. So today we're going to touch on a topic from the book. I know you haven't gotten that far, but there's a chapter number 10. It's about associations and or organizations. So it played a pivotal road in my growth with pods by joining different associations. And one of the things that it did for me, it put me in a room of like-minded people who were searching for the same things I was searching for.
Mm-hmm.
So if you find that organization that fits that niche, and for me it was an organization called NARI, National Association of Remodeling. That's where I met Dawn, one of our guests, Gina, one of my guests. It put me in a room of opportunity.
Yeah.
And it was up to me to decide, how was I going to handle this opportunity? Was I going to take full advantage of it? Or was I just going to meander around, come to one meeting, and that didn't work. Let me go find something else. Or put an effort into it.
Yeah. Well, you got to sign up and make yourself uncomfortable, like last week's show.
Exactly. Exactly. And the biggest key, that I take from that chapter is getting involved. If you don't get involved, you're just wasting your time and your money.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. Greg, what associations have you belonged to over the years?
Also, a bunch of them, depending on the role, right? So when I was in the real estate business locally or regionally up in the Hudson Valley, it was local organizations like, the Chamber of Commerce, Business Council of Westchester County, things like that. So there's been a bunch of them, but it's interesting that this is the topic because when you think about how to be useful to them, right? Like what you just said about getting involved. I always thought it was like, okay, what do these guys need? Guys and gals, what do they need in the organization? Because I can be a passenger or I can try to be a driver of some aspect of what they're trying to do. And you get into a service mindset where, do they need someone to work the door at the reception? Fine. I'll be a bouncer today. Not that you'd be bouncing anybody, but a greeter, right? But so often what they need is enthusiasm, right? And anybody can bring that. Getting excited about what they're trying to accomplish and then putting form around what they're trying to accomplish, and then putting your back into it, but being contagiously pumped up about it is free, right? And if you get yourself there emotionally and then bring it, it's cool.
So Ty and I joined an organization, and Ty became my +1. It was the Melville Chamber. And we went to like 5 events in a row within a 8-week period. And, what Ty learned from what I saw was I bring that excitement wherever I go. People know me when I walk in the door because I create that excitement, and people want to be associated with me. They want to be around the fun guy.
Yeah.
And then I bring this good-looking guy with me, and it's all over with the ladies, man. They're swarming all over the place. It's true. It is true. One of the action statements from that chapter is, join a committee. I started off when I was with NARI membership. Then I did a little of the social media committee. Then I joined the trade show committee, and that's where it really sunk into me. And I spent 3 years working the trade show committee, being part of every aspect of building a trade show. I got to see it from afar, got a little bit of responsibility, and then the 4th year they asked me to take the lead. I was like, oh shit, am I ready for this? Can I really do this? I got 140 vendors. I got to book a ballroom. I have so many things. Yeah, I can do this. And it's amazing when you put your mind to it, what you can accomplish. But the best part about it was I was the point. I was the point where every person involved had to come to me. They had to get to know me.
Yeah.
They had to get to know my business. Well, I had to get to know their business. And we became more working partners. We're working together for the same cause, but by being the pods guy, and that's why I wore my pod shirt today, it really put a focus on my company, which is what I was trying to do in the first. Oh, the pods guy is running the show.
Yeah.
Give the pods guy a call. It wasn't even give Eddie a call. It was give the pods guy a call. So getting that responsibility was a rush. And I can remember we were in the ballroom of the Hilton Hotel in Melville. You know it well. The show is over. My family left. Everybody's making their way out. I just grab a chair, and one of the gals comes up and hands me a beer, and I just sit in the middle of the ballroom. 4 hours before there was 500 people here. There was 130 vendors, and it's just me and one other guy sitting in this room. It was a mind-blowing experience. It was like, wow, I really fucking did this.
Yeah. And you got to build personal relationships with all of those people.
Oh, yeah.
And outside of just that event, I'm sure these people probably still call you to this day.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For anything, because you were that involved, in it. You weren't just a fly on the wall.
No, and I ended up doing it for 2 years, and it was a really great experience.
Yeah.
Dawn, who was here, she was part of my committee. It's really exciting when you really want to get something out of it and put your energy in it. Like Greg said, I'll greet the door.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. Just be involved, be energetic.
Well, the time you spent in Nary and I was gonna say Libby, but not Libby, with Nary and then on to the new things. These people are like all so engraved into your lifestyle, into your life, and everything that you do in sales, and it's all come from these groups.
Right.
So even years later, if imagine you were doing that for your own personal business,
right? Which
then,
is what we're trying to do for you right now.
Exactly.
So the next segment's networking tips. I'm going to let you head on to that one.
So our networking tip for the week is try to get a guest list before you arrive. Get a roster of everyone who's going to be at the event.
Tell me why.
Well, for data purposes, you want to be able to reach out to everybody afterwards, especially if somebody piqued an interest. And, sometimes when you're in some of these meetings, the exchange of information, sometimes it might not happen right then and there, or some things might flow where that might mess it up. So if you already have the roster, you don't even have to stop the flow of conversation. You just keep everything going. I'll reach out to you because you already have the roster. You don't have to, get their information.
You don't have to chase them down.
You have to chase them down. You already have it.
But the other thing, and this is what I like to do, I want to pinpoint one person on that list that fits what I do, that could use my services.
And
I want to make sure I have a drink with them or spend some time with them, connect with them at that meeting. And again, I don't have to ask them for their business card because I already got the roster. So now it's just, hey, this is a guy here I was drinking with. We had some fun. We had some food. Give me a call. Yeah, I'll give you a call. And when you don't have to ask for that card, it's a good place.
Then, and you see it on the roster before. You're like, oh, this guy's a relocator, or this guy's this or that. I'm going to go speak to him specifically. So you look 100%. For him. That's smart. Yeah,
it's
it's targeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I can throw one in there, Eddie.
What's that?
I got one for you.
Go.
Network. Yeah. This is like a preparation thing, right? Like starting in advance. I started getting really good at identifying people that were going to be somewhere, either from a guest list or just knowing that they go to this thing. And knowing that I wanted to try to make an impact with them while I was there. Because there were plenty of times in my career where I had somebody in mind, but I couldn't get to them. They were talking the whole time. I couldn't find a window. And then when I did, I forced it. And then it was like, yeah, whatever, and I'm not as outgoing as you might think sometimes. I'd rather, when I have to work the room, I don't want to be doing it, right? So the technique was usually on LinkedIn. Finding them on LinkedIn, because you can search and find them, and from a profession standpoint, you can tell if they use LinkedIn. If they're on there, get their commenting on stuff they've written, even if it's old, right? Commenting on it, because how do you feel when somebody comments on something that you wrote?
Feel great. Listen right up. I want to talk to that person.
This guy loves me, and I love him back, right?
Yeah.
And then so doing a bunch of that where you're just like, hey, this really spoke to me. Something thoughtful connected with what they wrote is enough. But then they're going to check you out because they don't know who you are. Who's this person that just liked what I had to say or commented on what I had to say? So you put something on your profile that you think might be of interest to them. So whatever it is that you guys are both going to, there's something there that you can even just do something as simple of, this press release came out and this organization that we're both going to the event on Thursday, this organization just did the following, and this is why I think it's good for the community. So you make a little video of that. Now you've cast a bait right in front of the guy. He goes for it, or a gal, she goes for it. Now she's bouncing back to see who you are, and she's seeing a bit of content. Now you walk into the room, you're like, yo, I know you.
What's going on? Yeah, that's great. That's taking it a step further. I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That was awesome. I'm going to use that. That's like a double whammy right there.
So we have next is trade show tips. So this one, I'm going to read it, but Ty's going to comment on it because I know he has a trade show coming up that he's got to spend money on. You know, when sales are slow, is it worth it to go do these trade shows if you're not really sure of the ROI? So my company's gone into a little bit of a panic mode. We found out 3 weeks ago that we aren't going to any shows the rest of the year. They've already determined we're way below budget. We're not hitting our sales goals, and we're going to cut back on spending. You know, because to fly out to Vegas for a trade show is $15,000 for 3 guys, hotels, cars, food. It's a big expense, and we know we're not going to get that money back right away. We know that. But when you're ahead of budget and you're hitting your sales goals, or the whole team is hitting the sales goals, it's go, get the word out. But when you start falling under your goals, all of a sudden the ROI is like, they literally canceled the guy who was in the airport ready to fly to a show, and they said, don't go.
Really?
Yeah, we
just crunched some numbers. Don't leave.
So for you have a show coming up.
Melville Chamber, right?
Right. So what's that look like for you?
Personally, just because I'm familiar with the Melville Chamber, I think it's worth it because the last time I did a show there, it cost me, what was it, $600 or $700?
Yeah, you were right next to me.
And I did a job. That was like a Monday or Tuesday. I did a job Thursday for $800.
And you paid for your show.
And I paid for my show. So going forward, and I got more business out of that. Right. So if I get one, but it's worth it. I'm sorry, it's worth it no matter what. I think it is because I believe in myself. Right. I'll bet on myself in a room full of people, and I have a type of service that everybody needs. Eventually, you either need junk removal, or you need a mover, or you need someone to come with a truck and guys to do whatever you need us to do. So I just need to get in front of everybody. I need to take all the tips that I've learned from up until episode 13 and really go into this trade show with a different mindset than it was walking in. What was that, a year ago? A year ago.
October.
So, last October, when that was my first trade show. Greg, it was like I was just sitting there like eyes wide.
Deer in the headlights.
I mean, I did great. I met people, but I found myself, I didn't have a attack plan. You know, I kind of was just like, I'm here. I looked the part. Now what? So this year I'm going to really have a plan.
So what about you, Greg? You got a trade show tip for us?
Yeah, like a philosophy that says that how to have the highest profile possible at a trade show or conference. Like the application of that in when there's a speech going on is whenever they go to Q&A, you make sure you have a question and it's a good one, so that there may be 4 people on a panel, but the 5th highest profile person in the room is going to be you from the audience. You didn't get a spot, but you made your own. On the floor, we used to do a trade show where I like doing tech demos, like tech demos of any kind. Is just demoing your website is going to attract attention, right? So elevate your profile. But then we would add to the element of that. Like I wanted to have a TV, but I didn't want to bring a big TV because how do you bring a big TV to a trade show that you have to fly to? So we would go to the place, we would buy the TV there, the cheapest big one we could get, because they get pretty cheap now. Then we'd raffle it at the end. So we'd have to take it home. One of us, when they try to return, I'm like, you know what, you go to hell if you buy TVs and return them. Like that's bad for karma, right? So I'm not going to recommend that. But we used the big TV for the demo, got attention from that, then did a raffle. And the raffle was, we asked the host, hey, if you got a microphone that you guys use to make announcements, can we do our raffle from here? We're giving away the TV. We didn't want to carry it home. And neither did the people that won it half the time. Like there was one where a guy won it. He's like, what the hell am I going to do with this? I'm from Florida. I'm in California. And we're like, I don't know, but it's like, I don't know what to do with it, but get it off my table. He gave it to one of the staff working in the hotel. So he walked out of there being like, I won the raffle, easy come, easy go. And now she's taking a new TV home to her kids. And so he felt great. So I'm like, whatever, like
it's a
television has the pass along value.
Hey, listen, let me ask you a quick question though, because I know what I do. Did you pinpoint someone that you wanted to give that TV to?
No, but I've been the recipient of that before, where they were giving an iPhone when they were new, and they're like, yeah, you want an iPhone? I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay. And
you won.
Well, I remember when we were in Lake George, and there was a guy that won a raffle, and you looked across. I'm at my table. You're at your table. You looked across. You were like, "Did they really win, or is that the person that you wanted to talk?" He was like, "That's the person.
That's the person I wanted to meet." All right, Greg, we're going into old-fashioned time. We're going to take a quick break, maybe about 2 minutes. Our chief bartender here is going to make us a resident bartender is going to make us 2 old-fashions.
You texted me that we're going to have old-fashioned time. I'm like, what does that mean? Is that some broadcasting terminology I'm not familiar with? No, it's old-fashioned.
It's old-fashioned.
It's an actual old-fashioned, and we're going to do it cool this time because after I make them, we're gonna do a quick smoke on camera.
There you go. We'll be right back. There we go. Back to episode number 13 of How to Become a Sales Warrior. I'm your host, Eddie Pods. My co-host, Ty White.
I'm not used to sitting over here for the second half of the show.
And my special guest, Greg Rand, down in North Carolina, looking over Lake Norman. We're at old-fashioned time. Let's toast, first of all, Greg, to you. Sorry you're not here in the studio, but...
Let me get the memo, but I got to...
There you go. There you go. So, Ty, tell Greg and my audience here why we do old-fashioned, what it means.
So, old-fashioned is a representative of our friendship. And when we first met, it was over an old-fashioned at a trade show that we didn't know that we had met just before that. And then we ended up there. You know how sometimes, like, there's always a confirmation in the world where, like, you meet somebody and then you see them again and you're like, oh, no, that's the guy. And then it was over an old-fashioned, and we just built this relationship and doing business together, me helping his clients out, him showing me old-fashioned ways of doing business because everything that I was doing was new, techie, and you know, all of my lead generation was through the internet and stuff like that. So I had never stepped into a trade show or a business luncheon group and things like that. So he was showing me older-fashioned ways of doing business before all of this stuff was here and available, and then I'm also showing him ways that I was doing it, and there's a happy medium in the both of it that really defines our friendship. And there's an old way that works, there's an old-fashioned way that works, and there's a new-fashioned way that works, both of which have their pros and cons, but when you bring them together, you know, it's unstoppable, man. It's a powerful thing.
So we're going to go into big wins and or best new connection of the week. So for me, a win, this is 9 months in the making. A company called Diamond Defense Systems, who was trying to get a contract with the government to install security systems of some sort, very high tech, over 60 locations around the country. And I did a presentation, got them some dynamite rates for the entire country. I was back in January, once a month, send them an email. Once a month, I'd send him a text. Once a month. I sent him a text last Friday. He goes, dude, we're starting. I was like, what? Yeah, we got the contracts. We got the first 2 containers rolling off next week. Here's the schedule. And I was like, wow, 9 months of hard work.
Finally
coming to and making it happen. I was like, whoa, that was awesome. Big win for you this week?
Well, this is, I got to say, I guess, is this the first official Pack Pros week?
Yeah.
Kind of, right?
Yeah.
And I've already done a decent job, and I just closed the job with Diamond Vision, who an huge eyeglass facility who had a leak. I'll be going in there tomorrow to help this nice doctor out, get his whole place in order, pack out. I called you for 2 pods because he needs 2 pods, and we're gonna empty out his whole doctor's office, put it in, pack them up, let them do their little fixing, and when we're done, we're gonna put it all back.
And the lead came from Networking for Charity, my networking group.
Dean. Yeah, you know, and which he was very happy with the walkthrough and the fact that I put the doctor at peace because he's a little frantic and all over the place. And Dean was like, man, I could tell we're gonna do a lot of work together, you know.
That's
so
awesome.
I'm looking forward to that relationship.
What about you, Greg? Any big wins this week?
Yeah, actually, thanks for asking. My role gets out of being that directly involved in landing a sale most of the time, but there was one last week where just a big client, I won't get into boring details, but a big client who were in the real estate business. They own lots of houses all across the country, big giant portfolio of houses they own. that they have as rental properties, and they want to sell a bunch of them. And the thing that I think is helping us clinch this, because we got an unbelievably favorable response and we're going to sign these guys up as a result, was that everybody else they're talking to is drooling all over their shoes. Like, oh, you're going to give us potentially thousands of homes to sell over the next couple of years, like a massive account. But we look for the opportunities to tell them politely something they're doing that's actually a mistake, something they're doing that's at cross purposes with what they're saying they want. Like, we want to achieve this. And then you hear some of the details. You're like, can I just point something out that's terrible idea? You say it to, like what we actually said this time, because it was a rapport. I said, will you guys kill me if I tell you that's the dumbest thing I ever heard? And they laughed. But like, in all seriousness, we pointed out how there was a thing they were going to do that was going to work against them. And they're so not used to people, again, politely, right? As long as you say it politely, you're not going to get thrown out. But politely showing them that you're willing to tell them, that you have enough courage to tell them something that they might not want to hear, means everything you say from now on is true. Like,
right,
you earn,
no bullshit.
Yeah, you earn the truthful sort of reputation by telling them something they don't want to hear. And maybe you're not stuck making mistakes doing it their way. They trust you to some of the calls. But yeah, we're landing a biggie as a result of a number of things. But the thing that I personally contributed the most in the pitch was telling them where they were, stepping on it, and what a better idea would be.
So we go from there to best new connection. So connections, anything out in the field, it's kind of related to Big Win. But for me, I met this guy, Fred Higgins, on an online networking group. I belong to Alignable, and he's from a solo company.
Okay.
And he said, hey, can we get offline? I said, yeah. So we got on a call, and he said, I got this project coming up. I don't know if you're right for it. We're a solo company. We have 10 POs in hand in 10 different major cities around the country that we have to do installs. But we want to send everything from our warehouse in Boston to all these cities. I said, okay, yeah. And as Greg said before, I did start drooling a little bit, a little on the corner of the mouth there. And because he's asking me all the things that I know we do, and he's asking me, do we do this? And you're like, oh my God, I do this. So I said to him, he was in a hurry. He said, I'll have Colin call you with details. Hour later, Colin calls. Great conversation. Yes. I said, do me a favor. Let's not waste each other's time. Send me over the locations of where these are all going, and I'll pull you a quote for every single move. The 10 POs that you have in hand, I'll get it to you by end of day. He goes, really? By end of day? I'm like, by end of day. And I already went to my bosses, got favorable pricing, so I didn't have to go back and do the fucking high-low game. I came in with a strong low price, put together. And again, I don't get into the weeds. Here it is. Here is the list that you sent me. Here's the cost. Right next to it. No big spreadsheet, no big, here it is. What do you guys think? Interesting. We're going to move. We'll get back to you, but I'm going to bring this to the bosses. So that was just an amazing connection for me this week. And honestly, it could be worth over $100,000 for me, which is a lot.
Nice. Mine was a two-part, because it's pretty much the Big Win was the doctor's office. The best new connection was the person who walked me in there, was Dean. And him and I were supposed to do something when you brought me to NFC breakfast one time. But I think this is the time where we really
shine. We're gonna connect and shine together.
And he, I could just see his smile and the way he was looking to incorporate me into everything that he's doing, the bigger projects. And he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna do a lot."
Cool. What about you, Greg? Best new connection of the week?
Yeah. It was 2 weeks ago, but I'll use it if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've got this need, for context, we've got 50,000 real estate agents in our company across the country. Independent real estate agents. One of my responsibilities is to get them to use our mortgage company, right? To refer their buyers to our mortgage company. And I got to try to influence a lot of people's behavior across a big geographical area, and it's hard. And so one of the things we're doing is putting on a national webinar event, watch party event, where we'll broadcast some cool stuff to them. And I met a guy. Somebody said, oh, you got to meet this guy, Drew. Drew Thompson's his name. He's one of the employees in our New Jersey company who's making his way up. I think he's only in his 20s. He's making his way up, but he's charismatic as can be. Took 5 minutes of talking to him to say, okay, this guy's got massive. It's like discovering, a lead singer in a club somewhere, knowing that he's going to play stadium someday, right?
Right.
I can give him the semblance of a tour. I can put him out on a virtual tour, meaning, put him out there where there'll be 300 or 400 real estate offices with him on a screen with 30 or 50 people in the room. So we can have a pretty good people in the thousands paying attention. But it was a great connection because number one, it's exactly what I need to make what I'm trying to do work. But it's also giving this guy a platform that he's never going to forget it, right? Like, I know you get to a certain age, and Eddie knows this, Ty might not be sure. When you get to a certain age, all you want to do is help the younger guys, like, get an opportunity to give a younger guy a platform. So I'm really excited about it because I think he's going to kill it. And it's going to open up a lot of opportunities for him. So everybody wins, but it's wonderful to go into these things where you genuinely are asking, I reached out because it's something I need, but as quickly as I can, I want to think about what they need. So, because if I deliver that, then it's a no-brainer for everybody involved.
Well, that's kind of what Eddie, I guess, went through when we met, because he needed a pack and load, a mover guy, but in turn ended up changing my life, and it was him reaching out because my other guy's not working out. I need a new guy.
A new guy.
That turned into him being like, you know what? I really want this kid to shine. And I see he has there's nothing attached to that. And I've been a part of so many different things, and I've worked for so many different people, and you can always feel what's attached to it. And I've made people money, and they've never quite given me my due. And I can feel the difference with Eddie. There's absolutely nothing attached to it, man. He genuinely wants to see me win. He gets happy. He jumped in the air when I got paid from a big job, because we knew that it was a net 30, and sometimes it was a school that just gives you a hard time about paying. Did a huge job for them. I called him and let them know that they paid me. He jumped in the air more than that. He was like, yes, he got it.
Yes.
Like, in that genuine happiness, man. Like, and I guess you're right. I'm not at that age yet. I'm still like at the selfish age where
it's all good, brother. It's all good.
Either, right? So you have that to look forward to, is that you'll start to see as you get going that the opportunity to pay it forward is going to be there, and maybe sooner than you think.
No, it is though. That was a joke, but it is. A lot of my guys that work with me, they're in their early 20s. I mean, I'm 34. So a lot of my guys that work, and they're in their early 20s and stuff. And I've had people work with me that's worked with me for a couple, maybe 6 to 7 months, and then went and tried to start to do their own thing because they've learned so much by being with us, and whether it worked or didn't work, it made me happy to know, like, wow, I really taught somebody something that they were able to go, do something, and
it's beautiful that you didn't begrudge them that. It's beautiful that you didn't begrudge them when somebody wants to go and do what you did, which is go start something, and they come from your shop to go do that, and your instinct is to be excited for them.
That's awesome.
I helped them build it because I've realized that there's
someone helped you.
Dude, in the moving and the junk, the business does over hundreds of billions of dollars. You could open 75 of these companies, and none of us are going to step on each other's toes. There's enough business out here for everybody. And I also realized if I train 3 guys to do what I can do, then maybe I can kick my feet up and start sending these guys out to go do it and just make my percentages and go do other things, rather than just being like, I just want to take over this. And no, you're thinking small, And I had to learn that too. And in the beginning, you're like, oh, you want to do what I could do? No, that's a blessing. You should duplicate yourself as many times as you can,
Yep. Cool.
So we were going to do best new business decision, but I think we heard all our greatest decisions this week. We don't need to go into there. Well, we're going to jump into the Q&A. Some of this may be old to you, Greg, but, tell the audience, when did you first get interested in real estate? I know you grew up in it. I know your mom was a real estate agent, but when did you really know that that's what you were going to do?
I did grow up in it, and my earliest business memories were of tagging along with her when she was a real estate agent, and I'd be sitting down, this big, sitting down in the waiting room in a real estate office, and I remember seeing a lady crying in the conference room. I say lady, she was probably 26, right? But she was a lady to me. She was an old broad to me. But she's crying, and I asked my mom, like, "There's a lady crying over there," and she goes, "Oh, she's fine. She bought a house. She's good." I'm like, "Does she not like the house? Like, what's the problem? She's crying." But I learned that moving is like an emotionally charged thing, right? And I learned from watching her and watching how much, it's the magnitude of how much money you're spending, but it's also the fact that you're moving. And from point A to point B, you guys know this because you're on either side of that,
Yep.
where you see the tears when they're getting out and locking the door for the last time.
Yeah.
How as close as you are to you see how excited they are, but nervous. And it's things like, the reason I love the business and the reason I ended up in it is because there was a family connection in it, but also I realized it was important, even though it gets made fun of. Like my profession, residential real estate, gets goofed on TV,
It does.
movies, right? It gets goofed on, but yet it is important work, because people are saying to themselves, we're moving 2 miles away. My daughter's best is across the street. She's only going to be a mile away now. Like, did I just break the friendship of a lifetime because I want a commercial kitchen and a fire pit faster than I am? How selfish am I? Plus, I also think that we're selling America. I'm a patriotic guy, and I feel like the opportunity to buy and own a deed to your little slice of this country, best product ever invented. And I just fell in love with the idea that every one of them is different. Everyone is super meaningful to the people on both sides of every transaction. And the product is going to be in demand forever,
Yeah, it's an industry that's not going away.
And there's a lot to it. And so I've done a lot of things in it, and I've been able to move around from entrepreneur to corporate exec, back to entrepreneur, back to corporate, and do a lot of different things and learn a lot of things. But it never got boring because it's so big,
So I know the answer to the next question. Your mom was your biggest influence, as far as going into that part of it. Didn't all your brothers follow suit?
Yeah, there was a period of time that all four of us, or maybe not. I don't think my youngest brother Dan came in by the time I left. But yeah, she built a business from real estate agent to branch manager to starting her own brokerage firm, to growing that in Rockland County, New York. And then my brother Matt and I jumped in '97 and grew it to other counties adjacent, and it got pretty big. And then I ran off to go pursue something that I found more exciting, and my other brothers were there. So that it was four of us that have made a living. And the best thing about it, dude, was that we were given responsibilities that our resume didn't qualify us to have because it was a family business. So like the gift was, oh, you want to learn how to do mergers and acquisitions, meaning you want to go buy real estate companies, borrow money from the bank and go buy a competitor. Never did it before. Okay. Go try it. You get the bank loan. And that was a gift because it gives you a chance to, the world's a laboratory and you can try things because my mom was really cool about try it. What's the worst that can happen?
It's one of the things that I admire about Greg the most. Came from a successful family, had the opportunity to have success at a young age. And there was just, in my eyes, there was something in him that said, I want to go do this on my own. I want to make my own way. I want to put the family business aside and go figure it out on my own. And I'm sure you had a lot of doubters, eh?
Yeah, there are a lot of people who were like, well, are you stupid? Are you just stupid? But yeah, it was that. I mean, the best business advice I probably ever got from somebody besides my mom was a guy who said, if you don't do this thing that you've been dreaming about, you're going to be mad about it. You're going to regret it the rest of your life. And so like, you have to, and it's not and it's a risk. You could fail. And we didn't succeed to the degree that I wanted to in that company, Own America, that I launched after leaving the family business. But that advice that some timing can be important, right? But if you have if you see an opportunity that is going to make you happier, and that not pursuing it is going to create regrets, may have to take time, may have to be later, not now, but like set yourself up best you can to be able to take those kind of opportunities when they present themselves, or when you create them in your head and you want to go and do it. Because it's better. I ended up losing losing dollars in my personal career net worth by pursuing entrepreneurial opportunities, probably. But I don't have regrets as a result.
You got a question?
It seems like a lot of because we've interviewed other people in real estate, but it seems like the most successful people in real estate that I see, it's usually a family run or family oriented thing. Is that because there's a lot of like work that has to be done that necessarily like only your family would get behind doing some of these things. Like I've seen, like even with Galuzzo, when he's selling the house, his whole family will come in and be moving stuff around, and they're helping
doing social media.
You know, because you probably have to pay these other people to do these things, but it's like you got to have people that are going to believe in the end game, right? Like they're like,
it's also called child labor. It's child labor. You got the.
You live in my roof. I'm still paying you. Get the hell out there and do this.
No, but seriously, like, you know, when we're talking to people who are doing like $1 million houses and stuff, they've got like their whole families involved in this thing, you know. And when we talk to the people who are flying solo, they're usually not.
They're not up there.
Yeah. In that, you know.
That's the trend that we see down here. That the bigger guys are the ones who have a team behind them, whether it's their family or they have a real team behind them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's that's a great observation, and I hadn't quite thought of it that way. But it is, it's an industry that has a very low barrier to entry, right? If somebody wants to open up a real estate company, they get a broker's license and they hang a shingle and they're in the business, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's everybody, all hands on deck, right? Rally around, and there's a lot of things to do, and some of them get pretty big, and some of them stay small, but they can still be profitable. And it ends up like I worked for the biggest one in the country, the big corporate-owned real estate company. But you get down to the branch office level, you're going to find tons of examples of 3 generations or 2 generations that are working together inside of our office, right? So it's a Caldwell Banker office, but it's dad and son
and the grandson,
yeah, a lot of that. So it does. I think it's what I started with before. This idea that the nature of the business is very home, local, family oriented, that I think it just lends itself. But the child labor is no joke. Kids wind up being in the real estate business, you know, before they have driver's licenses, you know, because mom or dad I was walking around with mom observing people crying in the conference room, and then I was blowing up balloons for the open house, and then I was putting flyers in mailboxes.
My son's only 6. Believe me, I can't wait to throw him on a truck.
You have another?
Okay.
So 5 years. Where is Greg Rand in 5 years? Is he still with Caldwell? Is he back out on his own? Is he retired? What is it?
It's either still with Caldwell or retired. I like it here. I spent a lot of all my life in smaller businesses, and this is a big one, and I dig it. I like it a lot. I like the people, and I like the opportunity to have ideas get scalable. So yeah, I think 5 years I'll be here, 10 years I'll be done.
All right, so this has been a new question I've asked all my guests. We haven't really gotten a great answer yet, so I'm hoping you'll be the guy.
Somebody's going to give us the good answer. Let's see.
You could sit down to dinner with anybody from history, and anyone. Who do you want to sit down and have a dinner with?
Ben Franklin.
Ben Franklin.
That's one of the better ones. That's a better, best one yet, I think, so far.
There was a lot of pressure there for a second, guys.
Yeah, I know, because we've had some wonky ones. Like, really?
So last week, right? He asks us the question, and our guest looks down at his head. He goes, Jesus, and he goes, Jesus? He's like, you want to meet? Like, no, he was just saying Jesus. Like, I don't even know what to say right now. And he was like, oh, I thought you meant you wanted to meet Jesus.
That would have been a good answer.
So
that would have been a great answer.
I'm going to put in a pitch for next week's Best New Connection. I want to meet your Jersey guy. I want to go have lunch with him. Your guy is going to do the video for the webinar.
True.
I want to meet him. When I hear about people who are passionate, they love to speak, they have information, they could articulate it so people can fucking understand what they're saying. Yeah. Listen, I go to trade shows and I go into these conferences and I'm like, what are you trying to say? Like, but when I find someone who can speak, the last one I went to in Vegas, the woman was a police officer that retired, and she was amazing. Like her story, her reason to get up in the morning, her everything, like captivated me. Yeah, like I wanted to. I stayed for the whole hour-and-a-half lecture, and those are the kind of people I like to surround myself with, or get to know, who, as Ty has seen, become good confidants for me, friends of mine, people who, you know, when I need some advice or looking to make another new connection, they're there to judge. Yeah, gotcha, man. I got this event coming. Why don't you come to this event? So, you know, I'm reaching out to you now. Hey, I'd love to meet that guy from Jersey. Love to be part of that connection.
I just want to let you know I took something from what you said today because we have a lunch on Wednesday, right? We have a lunch on Wednesday, and I'm gonna bring the enthusiasm because that's what I took from you today, and we're gonna be networking with a bunch of people. We're putting together a lunch, and I was like, you know what I could bring to this lunch? Enthusiasm.
There you go. So we rented a you've heard of Avalon, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, the apartment building.
Yeah. So they have clubhouses. They rent the clubhouses out for meetings. So me and Ty went to one a couple of weeks ago, and I said we should do this. So I plunked down $400, got a third partner, bring in some food, and I invited 9 select people to do a networking roundtable, pull things out of people, try to find how I could connect them to the other people in the room. Again, it's me trying to be out in front. Why? Because I represent a company that does amazing work. But if I could sit in this room and connect you to you, why the hell wouldn't I?
Yep.
So the idea is, again, give back. Give back to all the people that helped me. They're on my list. We got 9 guests coming. Plus, one of my senior VPs from Florida is coming up too. So got to do a little show off there.
Put on a little show, A
little show. So we're gonna wrap things up here with our closing. Why don't you go first?
You can reach me, Ty, at the Pack Pros, thepackpros.com, 631-626-6290. And you can always email me at tye@thepackpros.com for all of your moving solutions. And how about you, Greg? Where can we find you?
Best places on LinkedIn. So just look up Greg Rand, GREGRAND. There's more than one of me out there. Just put Caldwell Banker on there and connect with me there.
Nice.
And I am Eddie Podge. You can reach me many different ways. You can go to my website on howtobecomeasaleswarrior.com. You could get me at eadelman@pods or 631-334-8587. You need moving, storage, whatever you need. I have all the sources, whether it's me directly or Ty and his company taking care of it. Want to thank you, Greg, for coming in. It's been a few weeks trying to get you to finally come on. I'm glad you did. It was a pleasure to have you on.
It was great to finally meet you, Greg.
Heard a lot about you.
Heard a lot about you. I heard about you all the way up to Lake George.
There you go. So, yeah.
I actually just confirmed with my family's having a family reunion in Raleigh, North Carolina on July 6th. So I'm going to be going down for the day and going to see some family.
So when I was up at Lake George for this trade show, I took Ty over to Gina's mom and dad's house.
Oh, really? I heard it was pretty nice.
And it was their 60th wedding anniversary. I had no idea.
We didn't even know.
I checked in with Gina. Can I do a drive-by? She's like, yeah. And we brought some pastries and stuff. And Lenny made us an old-fashioned and shooting the shit for 2 hours, man. It was awesome. It made their day,
Made my day. They were just an awesome couple, man. They were. I love sitting down and getting to speak with people with that much wisdom,
Yeah, absolutely.
I've heard they're cool. I've not met them. I've heard they're very cool, though.
They are. Well, thank you very much for being here, Greg. Thank you, everyone. Hope to see you all soon. And make sure to go to YouTube channel.
YouTube at Eddie Pods. All you got to do is go into YouTube and type in at Eddie Pods, and How to Become a Sales Warrior comes right up. Made it easy for everybody.
Thank you all. See you all next week.
Signing out.
Bye-bye. Take care, Greg. Thank you.